What's up, everybody? This is Logan Hanks with the Living Fully Loaded podcast. I've got a great episode for you guys today, one I'm really excited to share. And before we jump into that, though, I need to tell you first, if you're watching the video on YouTube, please hit the like and subscribe button and ask you please share it. And if you're listening to it, please leave us a rating and a review. It helps more than you know. Lastly, go check out Riton Optics. They're making some really killer optics over there. Manufactured or they're run out of Tucson, Arizona, veteran owned. Go check them out as well as their podcast, the Right On Podcast. Guys, I've got an awesome guest today, and that is Miss Valentine Thomas. Valentine, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I told you the way I like to kind of do this is start with a few general questions. Just they're kind of for fun, just to get rolling, and then we'll jump in. And so the first one is you have to give up one of three, and that is burgers, pizza, or tacos. Which one are you giving up?
Oh, good question. Probably pizza.
Yeah, that that one gets the axe. That's what people usually sacrifice first is pizza.
Well, to be fair, it's like if fish pizza is not that great, so it was kind of an easy one for me.
Yeah, I can't say that I've ever had any fish pizza, so that doesn't even sound very good to me. Um, all right. Second, you got to watch one film for 24 hours in a row. What are you watching?
Oof. Definitely not a musical. Um, I have so many movie that I love so much. It's hard for me to pick one. Um, I can't answer that. I never watched a movie twice. First of all, so.
Really?
No.
Oh man, I'm like one of those guys. I can watch a movie about 100
Oh,
times,
really?
and I hardly get tired of it.
Okay, well, I'm gonna give an easy
Yeah,
answer. I'm
yeah.
gonna
I'm
give, like, a
I'm a
very long
terrible
series.
movie.
I give a series, that way, it's less
Okay.
repetitive. I would when I'm watching
Yeah, yeah.
Succession right now, and it's so good.
What is it?
Succession? It's on HBO. It's
I haven't
pretty
even heard of that one. What's it about?
so it's basically it's a story about a super rich family, and then the dad is dying, and then they're kind of like yeah, the family story. It's really, really good. It's better than Ozark. That says a lot.
Okay. Well, I'll make a note. I'm gonna rate Succession on HBO. I'll check that one out. All right, last one. Well, this one might be tough too, then. But if they made a movie about your life today, who would play you?
Hopefully somebody really good looking. Um, who do I root Angelina Jolie. Yeah, going for that.
I was just thinking that. I was actually thinking that as you were saying that. I was like, Angelina Jolie's got to be. That's got to be who she's gonna say.
'Cause she did, like, Lara Croft and, like
Awesome. Yeah, she could play this kind of. I feel like the spearfishing stuff wouldn't be like out of her realm of stuff she could do.
No, for sure not.
Awesome. Well, that's a good way, like I said, just kind of warm us up. And so, start us off for people that don't know. Kind of give us a little rundown of who you are and what you do. We kind of just alluded to some spear fishing, but give us the quick rundown there on who you are.
Well, so I'm born and raised in Montreal, Canada, and, I lived there until I was 22, 23. I'm a trained lawyer, and then I moved to London in 2010, where I lived there for about 7 years. I worked in finance in London, and then in 2016, I decided to quit everything and start to get a job, air quote, and spearfishing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that's awesome. Now, so I've got quite a few things I wanted to kind of hit on in a little bit. And so first, all right, Canada, and I know you were recently on Joe's show, and I know he kind of asked you too, but I got to ask, like, what's your thoughts on what's going on right now? Because it's, I have never even been outside the U.S. I'm a Tennessee boy. I'm like a dry land Tennessee guy and never been to Canada or any of that, but I've seen everything that's going on with the truckers and all that. What do you think about all that?
I think it's a bit sad because it's creating a very big division right now within a population, and it's like the big division that exists in Canada and the US didn't used to exist in Canada. Now it kind of started to get very about you're either left or right, or you're either this or that. And I just don't like
Yeah,
this way of thinking. I think that you can have ideas that touches upon both sides of the spectrum, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And you don't have to fit in a specific box. So, and COVID really created that. It was really about either you're a nice person who care about others and you're smart and you're the good guys, or you're basically a piece of shit and you're selfish and you're into
yeah,
conspirations and things like that. So I just think that I just don't like the polarizations between the fact that you either one or the other. It's I understand my dad had his best friend died of COVID, but then and on the other side, I'm not very for the measure they're taking right now. All the lockdowns, a lot of very extreme things are happening. So I think that you're allowed to be metal. Same thing as in politics. And COVID became so political that yeah, it created
yep,
a lot of issues. And then again, it was a protest. So there is a few idiots that are creating problems and violence and stuff like that. So now they're labeling the protest as being something super negative. So I don't know. I think it's there's just again there's positive, there's negative. So it's just not black and white at all.
yeah, yeah. I feel like we're kind of. I mean, obviously, like I said, we're in the same weird situation here in the U.S. Where it all got so political. Like I've talked to a lot of people about it, and I know COVID is real. Like I mean, I know that it is a real thing, but it's like, why did this? It never should have become this political issue that it is, and now you don't know what to believe. That's like the frustrating part. Like you don't know who to trust, like who's telling you the truth, and I think people are like obviously like we're seeing with the truckers and all that. They're tired of this. They want to. I mean, people want to be able to make their own decisions, and I think what I wish people would do was just talk to people, because then you realize, like you said, all this division. If you actually just talk to people, we're really. I don't feel like we're actually that divided if we honestly talk. But when we just shout on like social media or something, it looks like we're in this horrible, terrible divide.
For sure. I mean, also you taking the emotional and humane aspect of it because you're not having conversation with another human being who has feelings. You're behind a computer and a keyboard and you're talking to a photo. So it's easier to insult
Yeah,
somebody that you don't know, and it's not okay. It's there's so much bullying going on social media right now, and you think bullying is only about kids at school, but it's not. It's happening with full grown people, with kids and real job, and it's like how do
yeah,
you speak like that to other people? Would you teach your kid to start yelling and insulting people who disagree with them? Is that really the world you want to live in? So why are you doing it online?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's a weird place where I'm the same way as you see. Like, I mean, grown men that they live to troll people online, and it's like, man, do you have nothing better to do? That's I think a lot of the problem. These people, I mean, they're ultimately just miserable. And I was telling you beforehand, I've listened to some of your talks there, and one of them I really enjoyed was on the comfort zone, like kind of when you pushed yourself out of your comfort zone. And that's one of the things I think a lot of these people, they never get out of that comfort zone. And so they're so miserable. And so then they just wreak havoc on other people because of that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's also it's not happy people who do that. You cannot have the greatest day
Yeah.
and be happy and be in a good mental space and then go online and call somebody a bunch of names. It's because you're angry. It's because you're angry at things that are happening in your life and you're taking other people because you disagree with them. So, but as long as you understand that, like, it's easier to deal with. But it's you don't know what other people are going through that day. So it's not because you disagree with their politics that you have to make them feel bad. Maybe that person is gonna, like,
Yeah.
commit suicide that day. Like, honestly, like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I don't want that on me. That's for sure. Um, well, that's what it's been in I've been curious watching all that because I kind
Yeah.
of feel like what's happening in Canada is moving or essentially going to show basically what might happen here in the US. Because I feel like that's kind of just the beginning. And I do get a kick out of Trudeau because I feel like, he's not listening to the people at all. Like that's kind of the perspective I'm getting. Like he's not actually listening to what they're saying. And I don't know. I don't know the guy. Like I luckily have not had to really pay a whole lot of attention to him, just being that I'm in the U.S. But he seems like a shady, shady dude to me.
It's he's coming from a very old powerful family in Canada. So it's I don't know him personally, but it's not. Let's just say that if elections are up, I would not go there.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. I get that. So now tell us, how did you get to the U.S.? What brought you here, or when, and all that? Like, I mean, being from Canada, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I've been living in London for about 7 years, and then when I kind of decided to give spearfishing a go, that's when I decided to move somewhere. So I was like, okay, where should I go that it's nice, it's warm, it's still, civilized, there's still shops around, and that I can travel easily to different locations. So Florida kind of became the answer to what I've been looking for. So I just decided to grab my things and move to Florida. And I've been living in Florida
Yeah,
since.
that's awesome. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. It's really wild. I think, especially considering going from a lawyer to spear fisherman. Like that's like two polar, complete, like just opposite worlds. I mean, and you like I said, I've really enjoyed hearing you talk about it because you said you had anxiety and these things like really bad, and the law thing would not be an easy. I mean, law school is not an easy thing to do.
No.
So I mean, I feel like you were still challenging yourself, but I guess that was still in your wheelhouse kind of thing. So that's why maybe you didn't feel out of your comfort zone there.
Spearfishing was a tough one for me because I was scared of the water for many years. So yeah, I almost drowned when I was a teenager. So the water and I was not really we didn't really get along too well. So spearfishing was definitely out of my comfort zone. But it's the food aspect that made me really fall in love with it. So I just had to keep pushing, and then at some point that fear aspect of it just went away. And I think that's is the same thing with everything. If you redo something 100 times that scares you the first time, you're gonna feel much more comfortable after. And that's applicable
Yeah.
for pretty much everything. So it's about going out there and just putting yourself in a situation that you don't have to be having a panic attack, but there's like a middle of a situation where you don't feel that great, and that just keep pushing through, and at some point comfort, and you're just gonna and then by doing it, by pushing yourself, you're gonna start becoming stronger mentally also, because you kind of showing your brain that you can go through this things, and then the more you do it, the easier it becomes.
And that makes sense. It does. It makes sense. I mean, and I guess so now, like on the law side, why did you go that route at first? Was that something? I know both your parents, you said, they're very intellectual. Like, was that something you were kind of pushed to, or is that something you actually initially thought you would want to do?
It's something that I always wanted to do. I wanted to be a lawyer since I was 7. So it was in my head. I always wanted to do that. And that's always what I pursue. It's I've been always very into studying in school and reading, and it is a big part of who I am also. And this as life went, and then I realized that I didn't fit, that I was in the right place. So it was just this feeling that there's something missing here. There's something that I'm not getting out of life, and I mean, did I think that I was going to find that as spearfishing? Absolutely not, but it happened. But it's not
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
a lot of people are asking me like, "Oh, like, what do you think I should do?" Like, I just don't have any passion. I didn't have any passion either. Even when I quit my job to do spearfishing, spearfishing was not a passion. It was more about it was a lifestyle that I preferred, and I wanted to be my own boss. And it's not this is not going to happen just by waiting for something to fall on your head and be like, this is what I'm meant to be doing. It's not that at all. It's just about
Yeah.
going out there and making the jump and pursuing the things that make you happy, and then working really hard and find a way to make money out of it.
Well, now on the spearfishing side too, like how did that come to be? I mean, because like you said, you were also initially afraid of the ocean.
Yes. Well, I met people. So I met a guy when I was on a flight I was going through Ibiza, and he was carrying freediving fin. So I started asking him like, "Oh, what is this? What are you doing?" And he explained it to me a little bit, and then he was like, "Oh, if you want, like, I can help you get into it." And then I said, "Yeah." And I met him when we were back from the trip. I had dinner with him, and we discussed the whole spearfishing thing. And then I went to a freedive class in Egypt a few weeks later, and that's when I discovered freediving. So I just stumbled across the like four
Now,
people in London that do spearfishing. I got lucky.
yeah, that's what I'm imagining. I can't picture that as like the spearfishing capital.
Not really. Even on the coast, the water is pretty cold. I mean, it's great. There's
Now,
great fish, but it's cold.
yeah. Well, now, and like I guess on getting into spearfishing, like now you say free diving. So, I mean, for people that don't know, I mean, you don't wear like an oxygen tank and stuff like that. I mean, you are just literally holding your breath.
Yes, exactly. So it's really about
That would intimidate me.
it's it's very mental. It's very, very mental. So it's you don't have to be fit to do this. I mean, I saw people that were incredibly out of shape. I'm incredibly out of shape. And my cardio was terrible. And it's not about that. It's really about just holding your breath and not panicking when you have an urge to breathe, because that urge to breathe doesn't really mean that you're out of oxygen. It just mean that you have CO2 accumulating inside of your body. So it's really about controlling that, controlling sensations, and controlling the panic that's going on in your head.
Yeah. Now, how did you train yourself to hold your breath? Because I think I've heard you say you can hold your breath for over 5 minutes. Like I was proud of myself if I go in a swimming pool and I can hold my breath for 60 seconds. So like, how did you get to 5 minutes or longer?
It's just by doing it, and it's not even hard training. I very, very rarely do pure freediving training. I like being on the water. I like getting fish. I like seeing stuff. So it's just more about, so basically human beings were meant to be holding our breath. So there's something called the mammalian dive reflex. So a lot of mammals have it, and it's what's allowing us to hold our breath for a certain amount of time. So when you put yourself in the water, especially cold water, you're gonna have physical changes happening within your body. So you're gonna have your blood is gonna start going from extremities to your vital organs, and then with water pressure, like the spleen is gonna release red cells into your body. So there's things happening that's helping you to hold your breath. So it's about getting used to it, and it's about be able to trigger that response. So it is training, but we all have the tools to do it. And then again,
Yeah.
it's the mental
Yeah.
training, because when you're facing down in a pool holding your breath, it is absolute hell. It's bad.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's what I mean, and that's what I would try when I would hold my breath, like trying to see, well, let's see how long I can hold my breath. I would try to not think about the fact that I was holding my breath, because if I thought about that, then I would feel like you say the urge to need to take a breath. So I mean, I definitely get that, and now and on the pressure, like because you've gone pretty deep, like you know, how does your body kind of acclimate to the pressure of the water as well as you go when you get pretty deep?
Yes. Well, just actually, just before that, if people trying to hold their breath in water, never do it alone. It's super dangerous to do it by yourself. So please don't do that. Um, when it comes to the pressure, it's pretty much everything that can compress will compress. So it's really more about. So that's why you know this you have everything that has liquid in it won't compress. So that's why you like your lung when you're down there are gonna be tiny, 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 which is why you don't have to stop on your way up.
Yeah,
So, when you're scuba diving, you're on your way up, and then your lungs are kind of always the same size. And if you scuba diving and you're going straight to the surface, there's a chance that your lungs will explode. That's the biggest danger. Um, when it comes to free diving, when you go down, your lung are compressing. Your lungs are tiny. So when you're going back to the surface, they're just going slowly back to their normal size, which
gotcha.
means that that's why you do not have to stop.
Yeah, that's that. I mean, and what about like your ears? Because I'm gonna sound like a little. Just, I mean, I am a dry land guy. My experience is swimming pools. If I go to the bottom of a swimming pool, even 10 feet, I can feel the pressure on my ears. Does it not just freaking feel like your ears are gonna blow up when you get pretty deep in the waters?
So that's a comment that actually I get a lot. People are like, "Oh, like my ears hurt so much," but it's just about equalizing. It's you have to equalize your ears, and when I go down, my hand stays on my nose. It doesn't move, and I'm gonna keep equalizing every 3 feet. You don't want the pressure to start building up, and you're going down and equalize, 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 equalize.
Yeah. Okay, so you're actually see, I didn't realize that. So you're pushing that pressure just like if somebody were to try to like build the pressure in their head right here. You're actually like doing that as you're going down.
Yeah,
Um
and when you're in an
okay.
airplane.
Well that's
When you're landing on an airplane and you're
yeah.
equalizing your ear, it's the same thing. You just keep doing it. There's some lucky people, not me, sadly, who can equalize without even having to pinch their nose. Most people, you have to pinch their nose, but there's some freediver who
Yeah.
do it without their hands, which is awesome, and I'm very jealous.
I'm sure, yeah, cuz then you have a whole other hand there. Now on freediving, what made you go the route of freediving versus scuba?
It's okay. I don't want to piss some people off here. Um,
Well,
free
we ain't
dive
worried about that. We ain't worried. They can that
Freediving is kind of like the real way to do spearfishing. It's that's what a sport is all about. I don't mind people doing
Yeah.
with scuba diving. I mean, if you take the effort of going down there and getting your own fish, like by all means, you 100% deserve it. It's a different sport, different feelings completely. Because first of all, you can go deeper, longer when you're in scuba, but when you're free diving, you're much more quiet. So you become part of the ocean for I don't know, like a couple minutes that your dive takes, and I think it's a completely different experience. I don't feel comfortable with scuba gear on. I feel like I'm too bulky, and there's bubbles and there's things happening, and it's just yeah. I prefer free diving. It's quiet.
Yeah.
I like the
Well,
peace of it. I like everything about it.
and that I can see that because I deer hunt here in Tennessee, and obviously stealth is a big part of being successful hunting. So I mean, I guess you're essentially hunting fish, and so that would make sense not having all the bubbles blowing out, and because I'm assuming that would scare away potential fish that you're after.
Yeah, for sure. And it is hunting. It's much closer to hunting than it is to fishing. Much, much closer because there's two different ways to two main different ways to spearfish. The first one is reef fishing. So you're going down and then you reach the bottom and you put yourself at the bottom and you don't move and you're trying to track fish either by ambushing them or by curiosity. So it's there isn't a hunting aspect of it. And then you have what you call blue water hunting, which is when you're in, let's say, 150 feet, 200, 300 feet of water and you can't see the bottom. And then you have either a flasher that's just flashing around in the water, or you can chum and you can do different things. So it's underwater hunting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I'll tell you, it still just kind of freaks me out a little bit, especially that when you start talking about water that you cannot see the bottom. I was telling some people the other day when we would go to the beach on vacation, me and my brother-in-law actually swam out one time, way way out deep for us. And I got to the point where when I looked down, I could see the sand on one side and then just black, just darkness on this other side. I mean, we were pretty far for us, and it was the eeriest feeling to me, like not being able to see what was below. And does that not? Do you ever get creeped out, or are you just so used to it at this point it doesn't bother you?
I mean, it's for sure. I mean, when you're in the water, like you have to remember that you're slower than all the fish. You're much weaker. You're giving up a lot of strength that you have on land. So it's just about finding. We're smart. So I guess that's try to find a way to utilize that and you know
Yeah.
try to find a way to get a fish.
Have you had? I know you talked about a tiger shark encounter. Is that? Would you say that was probably your most dangerous encounter you've had?
I mean, it's hard to say because sharks are dangerous when you don't see them. If a shark wants to attack you, you won't see it coming. Um, of course, it's more scary when it's like right here in your face and actually charging you. That's very scary. But I am more scared about the ones that I don't see, which is also
Yeah.
why when you're in the water,
Yeah.
you have to look 360 at all times, understand your surrounding, and also give that presence that you know what's around you and you're looking around you. And it's because that's the biggest trick with shark is to show them that you're a predator. It's to show them dominance on the water, which is not easy because you know that they can kill you in any moment. So it's kind of there's a bit of
Yeah.
there's a bluff part of it.
Yeah. You actually don't you poke them with the gun to kind of get them to go away?
Yes, I mean it's one of those that tiger shark encounter. It's when I was in Tampa. So for people who don't know about it, I was basically in 15 feet of water, and this baby tiger shark just started circling me and charging me, and I had a fish attached to my gun. But the shark was so close to me that I didn't even have time to take the fish off. The shark was just so close, and that's one of the rare times when I actually consider like, do I have to shoot this or not? And it's not something that I would want to do. Then again, especially online, a lot of people are like, "Yeah, but you're in a shark's territory." So, yeah, I am. But if your mom was having a little nice, cute little swim in Mexico, and then a shark comes, would you say the shark can eat your mom because she's in his territory? The answer is probably going to be not. But anyway, so
Yeah.
I think at
Yeah.
some point it's same when you're hunting. Yes, you're hunting, and yes, you're in the woods. Are you gonna let something kill you? Probably not. So it was a tough situation, and I'm not gonna lie. It was not because I was feeling bad about the shark. It was because I'm like, if I shoot him, I'm getting rid of the only thing between me and the shark right now. So it's when your life is in danger.
Yeah.
I respect shark immensely. Am I gonna choose the shark life over mine? Absolutely fucking not. So it's yeah, it's about gauging what's happening. The same thing with hunting, and bears and mountain lions and whatever things you have out there hunting in the woods. So it's yeah, that was definitely one of the scariest time though, for me. But they're part of it. It's,
Well,
what
you're
you know what's happening in the water. You see them, you see their behavior. You can recognize a shark that's aggressive. So that's you to adjust your behavior. Okay, there's a very aggressive sharks on the spot. So you have the chance of the shark will be angry. He's gonna circle. It's gonna act angry. So you have time to go back on the boat and just move spot. So
yeah, and it's funny you say that too. Talking about people almost have this weird value of like they almost would value the shark's life over a person's life.
yeah.
And yeah, I'm with you. I mean, if I'm hunting and an animal were to attack me, like if I was to go elk hunt or something and a bear comes after me, I'm going to do my best to kill the bear to cuz I'm going to be trying to go home like at that point. And it is funny, we live unfortunately in a world where I think a lot of people are so disconnected. Um, I mean, and I'm sure you probably have dealt with people that see you spearfishing and they take offense to that because they think you're in a sense damaging the population of fish. I'm sure you've had to deal with that.
For sure, and it's. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Like you're respectfully delusional about things. It's
Yep.
even the way after when people started watching Seaspiracy, right? Then they start being like, oh, but like the oceans are going to be empty by 2048, and like the ocean, like the trawlers are destroying the oceans, and the Switzerland is awful. Wait a minute, there are awful things happening in the ocean, like there really are. It is not the full picture, though. It's there's aspects to consider.
Yeah.
Some of them being that there's about 3 billion people depending on seafood on the planet right now, so it's not something that will go away. Um, Also, other aspect to it is there's something about like there's over 78%, I think, of seafood that we consume that is actually sustainable, and 99%
Dang.
of
Yeah.
the seafood coming from the US is sustainable. So it's the US
Wow.
has one of the best regulations. In fact, actually, the US is the best regulated waters in the world. So if you want to eat sustainable seafood, if you're in the United States, eat local and you'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess it's probably similar to, um, I mean, in the hunting world, we get tags or there's a certain bag limit you can harvest or kill, and I guess that would be the same. Like if you're in the ocean, I mean, is there tags for sharks? I mean, how does that? Do you have to buy certain licenses to go and do the spear fishing and like you can take this amount of this certain fish or this amount of that?
So you buy a fishing license for the year, and then you have state regulations when it comes to fish. There's seasons. There's different type of stuff. So there's no tags. I think there's tags for alligator or something, but that's probably the only water thing that I can think of that there's tags for. But yeah, it's all about seasons, and it's we have scientists that are working really hard on this that are very dedicated, very passionate, extremely underpaid, who are there to take care of the ocean and making sure that the populations are doing good. So especially recreational.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, and people got to trust that. I mean, and that's the problem we're seeing even in the hunting realm is we're constantly they're trying to add certain groups to, uh, I guess not add, but take them away from hunting, like where they don't allow that anymore, and they're ignoring the biology that's saying we need to regulate these numbers. Because I'm assuming probably in the ocean it'd be the same way. You've got to if there's no regulation of certain fish, then it could mean basically the erasing of other breeds of fish or other types because there might be an abundance of predators and they couldn't sustain that.
For sure. And it's moderation is the key for everything. And it's just like moderation and diversity. And it's exactly the same when it comes to fishing. It's you want to be fishing across the trophic chain. And basically, you want so somebody sent me a message at some point being like, why are you catching big fish? You should only catch small fish. I'm like, that's not how it works. It's you want to catch different type of species and you want to preserve the balance because if you catch only the small fish, then you're creating a strong imbalance here. So that's why I did caught some heat when it was the marlin that I caught, and people were like, "Why would you get such a majestic creature?" And it's all about, so a marlin to get to that size probably takes 5 years, but a 15 pounds grouper is going to take 20 years to get that size. So it's there's just so much
Yeah.
factors that comes into play, and it's sadly is this, not everything has to be emotional. Actually, emotions has to be taken out of everything, and conservation is definitely one of them. And it's
Yeah.
like I don't even post hunting photos. I don't, because I just know what's going to come out of it, and I know it's going to be bad. Even though
Yeah.
people who going to feel bad about that photo and it's going to be like, "Oh, this is disgusting." They eat meat. They go eat McDonald's at 3 in the morning when they're
Yep.
so it's sadly, I think that I understand. My first year, I cried a baby, like, I cried like a baby the first time I went hunting, and it's I think it's just about, but, the second time I didn't cry, and the third time I do feel bad about it, but it's when you choose to eat meat, you need to understand what's happening, and
Yeah.
it is sad, but we have been protected in a way that making us oversensitized to things. And there's nothing wrong about it, but it's we just
Yep.
have to make sure that we understand reality. And I think that everybody who eats meat should go hunting. And yes, you may cry the first time, but then you're going to understand that you're going to respect meat much more, because that ground
Yeah.
beef that you have for 4 days in your fridge, now you're going to think about freezing it. Now you're going to think about different things, because you actually do understand how important it is. You understand that there's a life behind it. And I don't think that if people go hunting, it's not going to take you away from it. It's not going to make you not want to eat meat. It's just going to make you want to respect them more.
Yeah. You appreciate it. You appreciate that a whole lot more. I said that I think that's kind of one of the, if any good came out of this COVID thing, it's that I feel like more people have gotten into the hunting world, because they, like I said, they went to the grocery store, there was no meat,
Yeah.
and they wanted to get some meat, and so they realized, well, I've got to do this, and like you, it makes you appreciate what you have. One, because you worked for it. What I mean, like when you take the time to, whether it be spearfishing or going hunting, I mean, you have dedicated time to that. And then you got to go through the process of cleaning that game or fish, whatever, you get the meat out of that. And so you've got a lot of time in this. So, I mean, you've got the respect of the life, and it's a remorse. I always say it's like a respectful remorse
Yeah.
when you take the life of an animal. I mean, I've been deer hunting for 20 years, and I still, when I shoot any deer I kill, there's always like that level of kind of sadness in there when I do it. I honestly think if I ever lose that, then something would be wrong. Like that's what I've always, if I did not feel that, something is off. And so I think that's normal. And I'm curious now. You piqued my interest on the, why do people get mad when you kill a big fish, and not like, what's the deal with a big fish over a small fish? Why do they care about that?
I mean, people care about things that resemble them the most. So I guess a bigger fish, it's easier to feel an emotional connection to it, because it's, even though that fish was gigantic, um, I guess that's why. Same thing that apparently when there's a fish, like when you see tuna, people feel more emotional towards it because there's white around its eyes. And then the whites around
Yeah,
the eyes reminds them of us. So it's
that's interesting. I've never thought about that.
there's just crazy type of things that create this emotional connection, and it's there's nothing wrong with, like you said, with emotion. It's just normal, and like I don't feel any pleasure or satisfaction out of shooting a fish in the face. Like it's really about, I have to put that emotion about. I don't feel good about it, but it's I don't feel bad either. It's There is such,
Yeah.
in my opinion, there is such thing as believing in the food chain, and this is how I believe that. But then again, if I ever get eaten by a shark, knock on wood, it's fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess that, that could be part of the chain. But uh, I hope that doesn't happen. By the
Me
way, I
neither.
hope you don't ever have to do that. But um, now, have you ever hunted sharks? I mean, what would that? Well, actually, before we get to that, back up. I want to talk about this marlin. What was that thing, like 400 pounds or something?
Yeah, it was about that. It was pretty big. I was in Mexico and Baja.
Now that seems pretty dang wild to be. I mean, I caught about an 8 pound bass one time, and I was pretty pumped up about that. So about a fish that weighs about 390 pounds more than my bass would be a hell of a fish, I would imagine.
It was pretty. I didn't speak the whole way back to the dock. I was kind of like in disbelief of what just happened, and it's yeah, it was really cool, and I got to share it, so that was really nice. So I left a good part of it to people in Mexico. There was a lot of people at the dock, so I just make sure that I gave a big slop to everybody who was present, and then I flew with about 40, 50 pounds of the marlin back with me to Florida. And then I vacuum seal it and I just wrote on my Instagram, I'm going to be giving fish at Publix at corner of that street and that street. And if you want, come grab a piece of marlin, just come. And a bunch of people showed up and it was great.
Yeah, yeah. Well, How did you see it? Tell us a little bit of the process of like picking out a fish, because with me hunting whitetail, I run trail cameras and I kind of pick me out a target buck and I'll hunt that buck. So I mean, tell us a little bit of the process of that. I mean, did you see this marlin? I mean, I feel like if you saw a 400 pound marlin, you'd be like, damn, this one I'm going after. But I mean, like, tell us a little bit how that works.
No, so basically, it's just it happened. I've been in the water for what, 9 hours that day and haven't seen anything. And I just remember I had like 3 or 4 last pieces of chum, so it was calamari in my hand, and I was like just remember looking at the guy who took us out, and I remember looking at him being like, "I'm out, like, this is beer time. I'm just gonna throw my last handful of chum, and then let's get out of here." And then when I did throw it, that's when the marlin show up, and I was like, "Ooh." So it was really about it was like it's that's fishing. That's the beauty about fishing, it's everything is different every day. You can have a fantastic day when you shoot a bunch of fish, and you can have days when you see absolutely nothing. Um, so basically, so I see this
Yeah,
marlin, and then I take a dive straight away, and then of course the marlin saw me, so he started swimming away. So what I did is, again, this is hunting, so I kind of just like turn around and just look at him from the side of my eyes, and then he was like, "What is that weird thing?" And then he just turned around to check me out even more, and then he just gave me a broad shot. So that's when I shot it. I shot it mid body. I had a pretty small gun, um, and so I shot it mid body. I didn't want to shoot in the head because the gill plate is very hard, and I really want to make sure the spear goes all the way through
yeah,
because there's like a flupper at the end of it. That would mean that the spear cannot go back out after. So you really want the spear to go all the way through, which it did, and then the fish took off. And then when the fish took off, I rushed to the surface because so the spear is attached to when you go hunting for bigger fish, and I was looking for tuna that day, so I was rigged for bigger fish. Um, there was an elastic kind of rope thing that's attached to a buoy at the surface. So the fish took off, the buoy took off. So I just hung onto the buoy, and one buoy for one big marlin is definitely not enough. So screaming to the boat to like bring me in the buoy.
yeah,
I'm like hanging on tight to this, and I'm just going, and the boat threw me into the buoy, and then I clipped it on, and I just hung on, and then I was waiting for the fish to get tired. And then, you pull up the rope and trying to get the fish. Every time it was seeing me, it was just going back down again and again and again and again. And then at some point, it just came back close enough, and then I had a second smaller gun, and then I brained it. and then brought it back to the boat.
How long of a fight is that? Like when the buoy's there, how long did it take to wear out a fish like that?
It took a good couple of hours. It was pretty long.
Dang.
So
Yeah,
it was yeah, it was a great day.
I bet. I'm sure that would wear you out as much too, I would think, just hanging on and being along on that ride.
Oh, it was pretty bad. I'm pretty sure I puked when I got back on a boat. I was so exhausted. You're in adrenaline and you just don't realize how tired you are.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't imagine. And a 400-pound fish, I mean, does that, is the meat good on all of that? I mean, or does it have a stronger fish taste when they get bigger like that?
um, I mean, yes, there's some fish are stronger than others, like amberjack, super, super strong fish. Yellowfin tuna are stronger than they pull up more of a fight than bluefin tuna. So every species has their kind of own thing. Of course, the bigger it is, the harder to fight, but that's just about strength. So it's
Yeah.
but it can you can you it can be very dangerous finding a fish because you can get tangled, and if your line gets tangled around you and the fish decides to go to 300 feet, where you're going with it. So it's this spearfishing is it is actually the second most dangerous sport in the world, but if you follow the rules and you stay safe, that's when it become much safer. And it's sadly a lot of the
Yeah.
incidents you hear about, it's always experienced divers, people who've been diving for a long time, and then it's the times where I was very close of dying was always because I disregarded very basic safety rules, such as doing a proper braid up before going down, or not washing my line, or different type of stuff. So it's yeah, it's really about knowing your limits and be humble, because fishing with the sea, things can go from very right to very wrong very, very, very quickly. So if you have to make sure that
Yeah.
you cover your bases at all times and making sure that you're safe, and it's not because you've been spearfishing for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years that you can discard that. Diving alone is probably one of the worst, because blacking out, shallow water blackout is the biggest danger when it comes to spearfishing. It's you coming back to the surface and you pass out within the last 10 meters, and it's if somebody is not here to grab you, then you're going to sink back down. So yeah, it's really about making sure you're always two. And it's sometimes it's hard because you're a bunch of experienced divers, and then everybody's doing their own thing, everybody's chasing a fish, and you're not looking at each other, and that's incredibly, incredibly dangerous because anything can happen. Anything can happen. You can feel
Yeah.
bad, you can have a bad dive, you dive, you braid up could have been not like calming enough, and it's somebody is not watching you, then it's yeah, that's when it gets very dangerous.
That's what I was figuring. I feel like, I mean, as much as you've done it, I feel like, have you probably had some moments of blackout in the water like that?
So the first level is what you call it LMC, so it's loss of motor control. So this is when basically your brain is starting to shut down because there's not enough oxygen in it. And that happens a lot in shadow water blackout, because basically again when your lungs are regaining their normal size, the percentage of oxygen you have in your lungs goes down very quickly. So this is why this is
Yeah.
a bigger danger zone. So um and yeah, so it happened a few times. I didn't do a braid up that was I didn't do it properly, and then on my way back out, I think one of the time I was in Florida and I was diving this wreck. It was pretty deep. It was maybe like 85, 90 feet, and I haven't been in the water for 6 months. And so I was like, "Oh, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine." And I dive there, I shoot a fish. My fish gets tangled, and I'm coming back to the surface, and I'm starting to feel that I'm losing a bit. I'm losing motor control.
Yeah.
Uh, exactly how it is. And I got back, and then when that happens, you kind of had to sit out for the rest of the day, and which is what I had to do. So you can feel it when it's happening to you. And one time I was in the Bahamas, and I didn't do a proper breather because I saw a big grouper at the bottom, and I went down to It was also 85 feet. I guess it's my unlucky depth. Um, and then I went there and then I shot the grouper. I missed it.
Okay. And it would do that when you're telling us like this wild story of, the about losing your motor skills and stuff in the Bahamas. So you were telling about the pole. You can only use a pole spear in the Bahamas.
Yeah, so basically, I had my pole spear, and then I was chasing that grouper, and then I was just coming back, and I could feel I was about to pass out, and I was just hoping that a guy at the surface could see me because I knew that if he was not watching me, my chances of dying were really high. So I remember filling back up and kind of like losing
Yeah.
consciousness and watching my arms do weird things, and then I came back and then I passed out as soon as I breached surface, and he was there and he grabbed me, and he
Dang.
so it was good. I was very lucky. He sadly lost his brother to a blackout
And
also. So
and
it's
now you said that you would actually even have to sit out the rest of the day after that.
yes. So when you do either an LMC or you blacking out, you have to stop that day because your brain is way more sensitive. So basically, what's happening in a blackout is basically your brain is shutting down to make sure that it's protected for any damages. So it will shut down so the lack of oxygen is not, yeah, it's not going to affect you in long term.
Gotcha. Wow. Yeah. No, I figured you probably. I mean, I feel like that'd be something you would have to deal with on there, and it's all of that is really intriguing to me because I mean, like I said, the ocean just creeps me out. I mean, have the depths, and I've always actually said I wish we would spend more time studying the ocean than space. Because I just find it hard to believe that if we can send something to Mars, we can't send something really deep in the ocean.
For sure. And there's a lot of areas of the ocean that are still unexplored and there's still things that we don't know about. So it's really, I don't know, it's just something fascinating about the ocean, and it's not something that you can really see from the surface. Like when you're looking out at the ocean, it's still beautiful, but when you're under it, it's a million times more beautiful. It's light, it's bright, there's
Yeah.
fish everywhere.
Yeah, I know you've got you've got my interest peaked on it. I mean, I don't know that I'm going to go which again, I don't have really good access here in Tennessee. I can't really think of a good place to go uh, free diving out here, but the ocean fascinates me, and I mean I wonder because there's no telling what is in the super depths of the ocean. I mean, I feel like you've probably had to seen some wild different creatures and stuff in your diving that you've done. Like even at 85 feet or something, I would imagine there's some pretty wild looking fish there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's also every sea is different. Every type of the bottom also kind of dictate what type of fish you're gonna have around the depth. So there's the big variety out there, and there's a lot of beautiful things to see. That's what I like about it. Every time I go diving, it's different. You see different things. Sometimes you can see sharks. Sometimes you can see dolphins. Sometimes you can see whales. You can see crazy stuff.
Yeah. What's your favorite fish to go after?
Sorry, I missed you there. I think my connection is kind of peaked to a pretty big low here. What was your last question? Sorry.
I said, what was your favorite, or what is your, if you had to pick like one fish to pursue, which one is your favorite?
Ooh. That's a tough one because different fish are good for different things. So I guess I'd probably go with wahoo because I really love the water hunting, and you can eat it cooked and you can eat it raw also. So I guess that's very versatile on that on that end.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're
Well,
fun
yeah.
to
Well,
hunt.
that's
They're really
I
fun to
mean,
hunt.
I hope people have enjoyed hearing about the spearfish and stuff because that is something that's really fascinating to me because it's very foreign. All right, so we had some technical difficulties there. The internet is not being our friend today. Um, so hopefully you got to hear some of that cool story with her and the blackout chasing the marlins. It's been really fascinating. I hate that the internet's hitting us because this is something that is really fascinating to me. And I'd love to have you back on because I'd like to even go down the hunting chain, talk about some. I mean, I'm a big whitetail hunter, and so all that stuff is fascinating to me. But tell everybody where they can go follow you.
Instagram is probably the best place. So it's just at Valentine Thomas, I think. Yeah, that's probably the best place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all go and I guess you got a website too, don't you?
Yeah, I do. It's what's my website? I should know that. It's
Oh,
valentinethomas.net.
okay. I'll say I'll put it in the link or in the description too, so people can find that. Um, Valentine, I appreciate your time. I hate that, like I said, the internet's kind of not been our friend here. 'Cause I feel like we could talk a good bit more about it, and I really appreciate your time today.
Of course. Well, thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Guys, y'all go check out what she's doing and see what she's got going on the sustainable side of the fishing. She goes into that. She's very open and shares why they do what they do, and I think you'll get a really good appreciation for it. And it's also really awesome pictures and stuff, especially for a guy like me that's not anywhere near an ocean. It's really fascinating to see what it looks like down there. So y'all go check it out, and I hope you'll have a blessed day.